Hey everybody, I am back with part 2 of my February book haul. So this should be a very interesting exercise. I said in the last video that I was doing 2 haul videos because I went a little bit nuts at the library sale because they have so many books and they're $1. And I, like my mother before me, am a sucker for a great deal. So in my defense, I probably walked home with about $200 worth of books for $16. So yeah, you heard it here, folks. 16 books I bought at this sale. I basically filled up the bucket, and as soon as the basket was full, I had to leave. So, and let me tell you, it was not easy getting them all to the car, but I did it, and here we go. Many of these books I picked up because they just kind of sounded cool or I liked the cover, so don't judge. It is what it is. But anyway, here we go. The first book is called The Final Six by Alexandra Monir. This is a book, if I'm remembering correctly, that was about 6 kids, teenagers, who were chosen for this space program, and it's supposed to be elite and so on, and the main character gets chosen, and then after she gets chosen, she starts to just suspect that something nefarious is afoot. So it sounds kind of like science fiction plus thriller plus YA, so I'm on board with that. The Final Six. Next, I have The Looking Glass Wars by Frank Beddor. This was, I believe, it sounded like not a reimagining of Alice in Wonderland, but kind of almost like fan fiction, actually, of like a story that takes place in that world and going between this world and Wonderland, and it just kind of sounded cool. The cover looks pretty cool. I like Alice in Wonderland. I've always had a soft spot for the Cheshire Cat for some reason. So this one just seemed like for $1 something that was worth checking out. So that's what I'm going to do. So there you go. The next book is The Interestings by Meg Wolitzer. I have read great things about this book and about her writing in general. I'm trying to finish up a collection of short stories that she put together, like an anthology. And this is essentially, from what I gather, is about people who live in New York City, and this group of friends, and they go to college together, and then they kind of lose touch after college, and then when they get back in touch again, it's almost like there's this contest to see who can be the most interesting because they all had these hopes and dreams, and some were more successful than others. And if anyone has ever been to a high school class reunion, that's essentially what it is. So fun times for everyone. But The Interestings by Meg Wolitzer, I think this is going to be a cool one, and it's got kind of a pretty cover, so why not? Next, I have a book that I have never heard of called My Name is Memory by Anne Brashares, or Brashares, maybe? She apparently wrote The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, which I never read. I did see the movie at one point. I honestly don't remember what this book is about, but I do remember that it was about, I remember, it was about past lives. And so it was about this woman and this guy that she meets who can see who she was in all of her past lives. And that sounded really cool. And I love books and movies. I love the idea of memory because it's so subjective. We change it based on what we want it to be. Like, it's not fact. And everybody sees the same thing differently, which has always been something that I have explored in my own work, and I love writers and artists and people who explore it in their work as well. So My Name is Memory. I think this is going to be a cool one, and it was $1. I'm going to keep saying that because I'm not tired of bargains ever. So yeah, there you go. Next is one that I probably would not have bought on my own, but somebody recommended it to me, and I feel like I almost bought it out of spite to be like, yeah, I read books, which is dumb. But anyway, is Unbroken by Laura Hillenbrand. I can tell you it's a World War II story of survival, resilience, and redemption. That's literally all I know about it. I do know that there is a movie about it that I believe was produced by Angelina Jolie, but I never saw that either because, frankly, I wasn't all that interested. So this is a book that I believe him, that he thought this book was amazing, and it probably is. And I will read it. I promise I will read it. World War II stories are not my favorite. So we'll see. And I'll tell you what I think when I'm done with it. So yeah, Unbroken. Next is another nonfiction book by our buddy Erik Larson, who did Devil in the White City. He also did this one called In the Garden of Beasts. I think he has a new book out too called The Splendid and the Vile, which I don't know what that's about, but it's Erik Larson, so everybody's going to read it. The ladies at the library sort of went a little apeshit when they saw that I was buying this book. Like, oh, my book, that book, it was so amazing. You'll love it. La la la. So, In the Garden of Beasts, this is about the American ambassador and his wife who were in Germany when Hitler came to power. And at first they thought like, oh yeah, Nazis, they have cool parties. But then they started to realize what was really going on, and things got a little dangerous and not good and so on and so forth. So I am kind of looking forward to this one. This sounds like it might be kind of an interesting read to see people come to the realization of, you know, the horrors of what Hitler was doing when they thought it was so great before. So yeah. Next is another nonfiction. I'll pay $1 for nonfiction any day. This is The Napoleon of Crime, The Life and Times of Adam Worth, Master Thief. And this is by Ben Macintyre. And if I am remembering correctly, this man, I mean, he was obviously a master thief. He stole a lot of art and maybe at one point stole the Mona Lisa. I could be lying. It's quite possible. But anyway, he was a fantastic thief and kind of probably a crazy person, but we'll see. I feel like I read about this book somewhere and then I just happened to see it, but I still don't know a ton about it, obviously. So, The Napoleon of Crime by Ben Macintyre. Next, I have a book that is on my list. I read about this book on some list on like one of those kind of techie online magazines like Wired or Inc. or Fast Company or one of those. And it sounded really cool. It's called The Social Animal by David Brooks. It's the hidden sources of love, character, and achievement. So this is, you know, a book about human behavior, which I personally am fascinated by. And it was on that list, like I said, so it must have something interesting in it. Social Animal by David Brooks. Next. A Natural History of the Senses by Diane Ackerman. This is another novel that I don't know anything about, except I am very interested in how our senses affect how we remember things and how we experience things. And that was kind of my impression from the synopsis, was a world where, you know, the sensorial experience kind of takes center stage. So this one looks like it'll be kind of fun. Next, I have another nonfiction book. This is called Mrs. Kennedy, The Missing History of the Kennedy Years. And I didn't know there was a missing history, unless maybe it's her history, because, you know, everybody's concerned about that dude in the back. I think this could be really interesting. Everybody's always been fascinated by Jackie for, you know, my whole life and like my mother's whole life. And, you know, she was kind of a remarkable woman and she went through a lot, you know, like her husband wasn't perfect. And I think that this book is probably going to delve into some of that because he has been kind of exalted as, you know, one of the greatest American presidents that we've ever had. And, you know, I'm sure he wasn't bad, but like I said, he wasn't perfect. So it'll be interesting to get the other side of the story on that. So Mrs. Kennedy by Barbara Leaming. Next, I have Reading Lolita in Tehran. This is a memoir by Azar Nafisi. This is one for the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge that satisfies a book about a book club. So this should be interesting, and this is about a bunch of women who got together and had a book club reading a bunch of forbidden classics, books like Lolita and so forth. And they come from all walks of life and different education, and in a place where reading actually can get you killed. So I'm really interested in this one, and we'll see. I'm going a lot of nonfiction this month, so yeah. Next is another one that was on my wish list. I've read that it's a really good book and people have raved about it, and that is Tell the Wolves I'm Home by Rifka Brunt. I have no idea what this is about. At some point I thought the synopsis sounded interesting and put it on my wish list, so that's it. This is another one that was on my wish list. This is The Golem and the Jinni by Helene Wecker. Again, no idea what it's about, but it was on my wish list, so at some point it sounded interesting. So this should be really interesting. I'm guessing it's kind of like magical realism fantasy, something like that, or contemporary fantasy. I'm not really sure. Genres kind of blend for me a little bit. So Golem and the Jinni. Next I have Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. I have heard these books are really good. I've never read any of them, and I have seen the movie, so I kind of already know what it's going to be about. But I figured for $1 I can catch up on that reading and see what's up and see what all the fuss is about. So yeah, Ransom Riggs, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Next is another one that I have seen on quite a few lists, and this is A Visit from the Goon Squad by Jennifer Egan. Another one. I don't know what this is about, but I know who she is. I bought another book of hers a couple of months ago. So this one, and it's a winner of the National Book Critics Circle Award, so it must not be bad. So yeah, I think there's like music involved, and so yeah, I'll get on board with that. A Visit from the Goon Squad by Jennifer Egan. And last but certainly not least is Olive Kitteridge by Elizabeth Strout. And I got this because I haven't actually ever read this book, obviously, because I bought it, and I hadn't heard of it. But I have seen on several lists the book that she wrote that is the kind of, I guess, a sequel called Olive Again. So, and that book has been floating around a bunch of lists, and it sounded really interesting. So I thought, well, I shouldn't read that without reading the first book. So this book happened to show up at the library. So I figured, what the hell? Let's give it a shot. And now for just $1, I can get caught up on a Pulitzer Prize winning book by Elizabeth Strout called Olive Kitteridge. So I have no idea what this book is about. So it's going to be like a Russian roulette when I get to all these library books that I don't know what they're about. But I'm excited. I hope you are too. So that is my library sale book haul. And they're going to have another one, I think, in May where I probably will lose my mind again. But until then, I'm going to try to bring it in a little bit, take it down a notch with the books, because I also enjoy eating and having a place to live. So, yeah. Anyway, till next time, I'll see ya. Bye.